Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and in this video, holiday edition, I'm going to show you how to make 3 different coffee cups with paint pens and decorate them as little gifts that you can give to people for the holidays this year. These are super easy to make and they make really good gifts, so let's just jump right in and get started. Okay, so tools for this video. Obviously, I have some coffee cups. These are mason jars. I literally just got these at the dollar store, but you can find whatever you want. It can be a normal cup in your house you can write on because this is also removable. So I have 3. I'm going to do 3 different designs, but however many you want to do. And I'm going to be using Sharpie oil-based paint pens, a big one and a small one. And then I also have a Stabilo All or Stabilo Aquarellable pencil. This is totally optional. If you don't have this, it's not a big deal. But the one thing I do want to point out is that you do ideally want to be using an oil-based marker, because when you have something cold like an iced coffee or an iced tea in a glass like this, it creates condensation on it. And so if you're using a water-based paint pen on the outside of here, it might affect the paint. So an oil-based paint pen is going to be your most durable. Okay, so the first design I want to do, I want to write fa la 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 la, and then I want to probably do some like stars or snowflakes or something around it. So this is where the Stabilo All pencil comes in. If you aren't super comfortable with just jumping right onto your jar and writing, then you can use the Stabilo All pencil. This is really great for writing on glass and giving you a bit of a guideline. You could also put some tape on here if you're doing some significant lettering to give yourself some guidelines, but for me, I'm just gonna write it on quickly to show you how the Stabilo All works, whereas realistically I would probably just jump in with my paint pen. Okay, so I'm gonna do all lowercase letters for fa la 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 la, and I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see this on the camera, but we've got an F there. Fa. And these aren't going to be perfect letters, but they're just going to give me kind of an indication of where to write. Hopefully you can see that. Kind of just making sure it's fairly straight as I go, but again, this really doesn't have to be perfect. Fa la 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 la. Now, if you wanted, you could also write this bigger so that it extends all the way around your cup. I think this is fine. I like the placement of it. I like the arrangement of it, and I think that it's fairly straight. So I'm just going to jump right in with my paint pen, and for the letters I'm going to use my larger paint pen. Just make sure that it's running really well, and then I'm just going to hop right in. So with this, if you've never done writing on glass before with paint pens, you ideally want to thicken anywhere you're going to thicken as you go, because it's harder to do it once it's dry. So when I say that, I mean faux calligraphy. And if you've never done faux calligraphy, I have a bunch of videos all about it, but you can also just kind of follow along with what I'm doing here. So I'm going to do the outline of my F first. And then I'm going to go back anywhere my pen was moving in a downwards direction, and I'm going to thicken it while my paint is wet. If you wait for your paint to dry for too long, it often will get like kind of chip off when you go to do it. So it's best to do it as you go. So there's my letter F. Now I'm going to do the same thing on all of my letters as we go. You'll notice that I'm kind of starting to work off of my guideline, because as I thicken, it gets a little bigger. So I'm using my guideline as like a really loose general guideline, but if you notice that you're starting to get off track, you can also erase your guideline and make it bigger as you go if you need to. Now, if you have an issue like this, like I just did, where your paint pools, you want to immediately grab some paper towel and wipe off the paint. Easiest to get oil paint off while it's wet. So wipe it off as quickly as you can. If you miss the opportunity and it dries on, you're going to probably want to use acetone or alcohol to get that off for oil-based. For water-based paints, you can usually just use Windex, but like I said, we should be using oil-based on these so that it's as durable as possible. And as you can see, I've gotten pretty off track from my guidelines. This is kind of one of the reasons why I tend to not use guidelines. I generally just wing it, but that's having experience with lettering. So I very much understand why you would want a guideline. And there we have it. Fa la 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 la. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry because I don't want to smudge it as I'm doing anything else on this cup. And also once it's dry, we can take off the guidelines. So we'll let this one dry and we'll start a different design in the meantime. Okay, for my next one, I'm gonna do a really, really simple design. This doesn't require any lettering or any real design skills. I'm literally just gonna do snowflakes. Snowflakes are one of my very favorite things to do on wintry themed decor. So if you don't have experience drawing snowflakes, it's not a big deal. I'm going to show you. But at the same time, you can also go on Google and you can type in snowflake design and you'll see a whole bunch of different examples of ones you can use. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to keep this one really, really simple. I'm just going to jump right in and start drawing some snowflakes. So if you've never drawn snowflakes before, they are 6-sided. Most people think they're 8-sided, but they're 6-sided. So what you're going to do is draw a kind of a wide X, and you want those pieces to be ideally about the same length as each other, and then you're going to do one down the middle. Again, all of those ideally the same lengths. I forgot to mention I'm also using my smaller Sharpie for this one. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to keep this first one really simple just to give you the example. We're going to do these arrow lines at the end of each piece. So simple, so cute, really not rocket science. So I'm just going to keep doing a whole bunch of those. I'm going to do probably a handful of those spread out along the glass. And then I'm going to go back in with a different design. So let's just do a whole bunch more of those first. And for me, I'm going to try and keep them all approximately the same size, but you can vary the angle of them. Okay, so there you have it. I've put in a whole bunch of this really, really simple design, and now we're going to go through with a little more complicated one. For this one, again, we're going to draw the 6 sides first. Next, we're going to draw a little peak of a triangle in each of those intersections to make sort of a star. And then again, we're going to go add in our little arrow pieces. It's like one step more complicated than the last one. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to recreate that one in a bunch of the spaces as well. Oil-based paint pens do tend to dry pretty quickly, but keep in mind as you go that you want to try not to touch the ones you've just done because they're probably still wet and they will smudge. All right, now we have 2 styles filled in. I'm going to do one more because I feel like there are some bigger spots, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to fill it in to look totally complete. Okay, for this last one, again, let's draw our 6 sides first, and then I'm going to do a rounded little kind of petal in here. And then I'm going to do that same arrow shape, keep things really consistent. And lastly, a little dot on the end of each petal. So this one's definitely the most intricate. So I'm going to put a couple of those, not quite as many as the other styles, because it's a little bit heavy. Okay, now again, I'm going to let this completely dry, and then I'm going to show you how we'll fill in all the little gaps in between and make this look really, really filled up. Okay, and then this last cup I'm going to do for tea drinkers instead of coffee drinkers. I'm going to write "Tea's the Season" on here. So I'm using my Stabilo aquarellable pencil again. And again, you could use tape if you want to do really precise guidelines. For this, I'm just going to kind of wing it. So, teas. And if you don't really do calligraphy or hand lettering very much, you can just do this in block letters or whatever you think would look nice. I'm going to write "the" in block letters. tease the, and then season. Start over to the side some more. There we go. Okay, so I have my letters pretty much centered the way I want them to. I might touch them up a little as I go in with my pen. So I'm going to use my Sharpie large tip for tease and season, and I'm going to use the smaller one for the tease the season. Okay, so as with the other ones, I'm going to let this fully dry and then we'll come back and decorate it. Our fa la la is nice and dry now though. I'm just going to touch it and make sure. And then once it is dry, you can go back really gently with your paper towel and erase any of those Stabilo pencil marks. The pencil will come off, but the paint pen won't, which is really nice. So just kind of buff that out. Oh, and this part wasn't totally dry. Okay, so I'm gonna try and touch that up a little bit. In order to do that, if you ever have a spot that is semi-dry, you wanna make sure that the tip of your Sharpie is really, really saturated. Otherwise, like I mentioned earlier in this video, it might chip off a little bit. Okay, so that A is touched up, and I'm just gonna go back to my snowflake design for now while this dries again, and we'll come back to this one. Okay, so to fill in all of these little spots, I mean, you don't necessarily have to. You could also just leave it exactly as it is. It looks cute right now no matter what. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my small Sharpie and I'm just gonna go into these blank spots and draw just the outlines of the smaller stars. So just those 6 lines, and just disperse these kind of everywhere. You can do as many or as few as you want. I just love the look of these coffee cups when they're really, really filled up. Once there's coffee in it, I just think it looks so pretty. So I'm just gonna put in a whole bunch of these. Okay, and then once I'm happy with how many of those I have, the one last step I'm gonna do is I'm literally just gonna go in and do some little dots that look like even smaller stars, abstract even smaller stars. And I like to do these in groups of 3 or just 1 at a time. This really kind of finishes it off, makes it look like any of those blank spaces were actually kind of intentional. Our snowflake jar is complete. I'm just trying to show this with my hand in the background so you can actually see through it, but at the end I will also put some coffee in here so you can see what it looks like. Okay, let's go back to our tease the season. This one is not completely dry yet, so I'm going to be careful as I go, but ideally you would wait for yours to dry. I just don't have the time for this video. And this one, again, really, really simple design to just fill things in. We're going to fill the bottom in with really dense dots, and they're going to get lighter as we go up, so it's going to look like it's snowing. So again, just really densely at the bottom, and I'm going to hyperlapse this because it's going to take a long time. Okay, so make it honestly even denser than you think. Just go around and around a few times. Okay, and then after you've completed your row of really, really dense ones at the bottom, we're going to get gradually less dense as we move our way up. So I'll do this on the side without the lettering first to show you what I mean. You want to go fairly dense, close to your first layer, so it's still fairly dense down here, and then just gradually doing less and less as you move up, so that once you're at the top, it's really just a couple of dots. So we'll do the same thing around the words, but we'll keep it a lot more simple. So you're not getting too close to the words. And you're just gonna have some rare dots up here at the top. But on the sides and the back, you can do that same pattern the whole way. I'm gonna try and show this over my hand without touching it. So on the back, you have dense at the bottom, getting slightly denser, less dense at the top. And then on the side with the letters, it would be the exact same thing. You've just kind of gone around the letters. Super, super cute. Looks like a snowstorm. And if you wanted to get even crazier, you could do it like really dense at the bottom and have it gradually get less, so there's more filled in, but I love the look of this. You'll see it once there's coffee in there. Okay, back to my fa la 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 cup. That last A is still a little bit wet, but like I said, in an ideal world, you would let your own dry. And for this one, we're gonna do some stars around it. We're gonna keep this really, really simple and make them pretty small and kind of non-intrusive on that fa la la. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna draw a straight line and then another little shorter one. I'm gonna put my hand under here so you can see it. And then you're gonna just fill in and round those corners out a little bit to make them look like a star. And you're gonna do the same thing, but just with a couple smaller ones around it too. So we're gonna do these little clusters of stars. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We're not gonna do a ton of them. Like I said, I don't want them to be like really focal points. I kind of just want them to be some accents for the fa la la. And like we did with the snowflakes, sometimes they do look good just in groups of one, so I might just leave the odd one solo every once in a while. You don't have to overthink this too much. They don't need to be super perfect. Once they're filled in, they're gonna look really cute no matter what. Okay, then once I have those placed, again, I'm gonna go in with just those simple dots that we did on the snowflakes as well. And we're just gonna do the odd little grouping of dots. You can do them in ones, you can do them in twos, you can do them in threes. I like to do them kind of like close to those clusters. They just kind of look like extra little magical highlights here and there. And that's it. That's all we're gonna do for this fa la 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 la. I think it looks really cute and kind of like understated and just pretty. Okay, so now let me go get some coffee in those and show you what they look like as a finished product. Okay, these are kind of hard to show without spilling, but here it is with coffee and so, oh, I'm spilling it everywhere. Okay, great. Here it is with coffee inside. I'm not gonna tilt it too far, but you get the idea. It looks super cute. And here's some proof that oil-based paint pen doesn't come off when it gets wet, because I'm rubbing it now with coffee and it's not coming off. So that's the fa la 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 la. Here's the snowflakes. Here's the tease the season, but it has coffee in it right now, just to show you. So there you have it, 3 different designs of coffee cup for the holidays. These are such great gifts if you want to give them to a coffee lover or a tea lover. As always, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to the channel and hit like on this video. It helps me massively in being able to create more of these free tutorials for you. You can also leave me a comment down below if you have any questions or concerns, and I will send you to another video next that I think you're gonna like for the holidays, and I'll see you over there.